they unveiled their new Gen 4 car, which is set to debut during the 2026 to 2027 season as well. This will be the fastest car in Formula E history with 600 kilowatts or over 815 horsepower available, including an active all-wheel drive in every phase of the race. The car's construction is expected to be is expected to set a new benchmark in environmental responsibility by using 100% recyclable materials as well. With two distinct aerodynamics configurations of high downforce for qualifying and low downforce for the race, manufacturers like Porsche, Nissan, Stellantis, Jaguar, and Lola have committed to the Gen 4 era. Formula E CEO Jeff Dodds said the new Gen 4 car is more than a race car, but it represents over a decade of progress, innovation, and ambition in electric racing, graphic courtesy of Formula E. And, well, Matt, we'll start off with you. What are your initial thoughts on Formula E's Gen 4 car? And did you ever think Formula E would get to this point several years ago?
Answer for the second part of that first, which is no. I thought this would have been gone a long time ago, to be honest, the way it struggled at the beginning. But fair play to everybody at Formula E all those years ago and got righted the ship, and here we are. I will come back to the first part of your question, Omi, with exactly what I said when I think it was Kobe posted the tweet in the Slack chat this afternoon when this news broke and we saw the picture. Oh dear. How long is it? How long is that car? It looks like a boat. Oh, or in probably more Formula E, a submarine. Formula One, of course, getting smaller in terms of width and length next year. We're going to have 18-wheeler Formula E races on tight street tracks where you can't really overtake in the fastest cars, which will never reach the top speed that they keep claiming that they can get to. Yeah, maybe it'll look better with some liveries on, but it doesn't. That initial shot there, yeah, I'm not a fan. They should go back to Gen 2. Gen 2 was my favourite. After when we got out of car swap mode, I thought the Gen 2 cars looked the best. What was that? 6 years ago now, maybe. But I don't. Yeah, I'm not holding out much hope for that car immediately, I have to say. And what are we, about 4 weeks away from the first race in Brazil, just before Christmas? So looks like the Batmobile, says Denver. You care? Yeah, I'm sure that people will be, and Adam's in agreement. Everyone's on the Batmobile vibe. I'm sure, if it hasn't happened already on social media, that the Batmobile, the Batman logo has appeared on the side of that car. It's time to drop the hammer in the ABB Batmobile Grand Prix, says Matthew Owens. On the streets of Gotham, it's lights out and away we go. Kobe?
Yeah, getting ready for the Gotham E-Prix. But yeah, that's an interesting looking car. Like my biggest concern, hopefully it will race well, and we'll continue to see some of the exciting moments that we've seen in Formula E over the last handful of years or so. And I think it was Ben that brought up this point. Omi, you mentioned that IndyCar has a bright future ahead. IndyCar is going to be unveiling its newest generation car. That's going to come out in the next couple of years or so. And I believe it was our own Ben Snyder who brought up the point that we're now on the 4th generation of Formula E car, and IndyCar still has not had a new generation car in the same duration that Formula E have produced 4 different styles of race cars, which, it's quite something to think about. We're literally on the 4th generation of Formula E car, and we're still stuck in the DW12 after all these years. So some food for thought there, and that's honestly a conversation for another day. But yeah, I agree with what everybody said about this car in the chat. It definitely looks like the Batmobile, and as I said, hopefully it will race well. And I am in agreement with Matt. I didn't think Formula E would get to this point after the first couple of years, but it's been really nice to see it, be recognized as one of the major championships in the world. I remember for so many years it was just the Formula E championship, and now, they got the backing of the FIA. Now you call it the FIA Formula E World Championship, and to get that World Championship recognition, it just shows you, that the series has worked hard to earn the amount of respect that it has, over the years. And I remember that very first Formula E race, it was the Beijing E-Prix. I think it was Nick Heidfeld who went flipping in the air on the final lap. That was my very first memory of Formula E. I remember when they announced this concept, I was intrigued to see what it was like. I was actually watching this race live on my television in the middle of the night. And that was my very first memory of this series. And it's been really crazy to see how far it's come. I do remember the days when we ran 2 cars per race where the driver would have to go to the garage in the middle of the race, hop out, get on a new car, and then continue racing, because the battery life, could not survive an entire E-Prix. And now these cars are becoming really sophisticated. And it's been really nice to see how they've continued to work and develop these cars, over the last decade or so. And Matt, I know you brought up the point, that they claim that this car can go this fast and all of that. And I know to us American fans, when you hear 815 horsepower, that's something that gets us really, really excited. Yeah, but I said, but they like to advertise things, and oftentimes advertisements are misleading. So so that's how that goes. But yeah, I'm glad to see where Formula E is headed. Hopefully, they'll get some more manufacturers in the future and continue growing this sport. And also, they've done a great job over the years attracting some high quality driving talent. I feel like the grids, just continue to get stronger and stronger. And I know some people, feel that Formula E is just a place people go, who don't have, who either flop out of Formula One or are not able to get to Formula One. I know they kind of said that about the IndyCar series as well, but Formula E is really becoming, a place to be. And Formula 2 driver, just talked about him, I believe last show or the week before, Pepe Marti, obviously, he's run out of time to, try to get to Formula One with no realistic spots available. He's going to be moving over to Formula E this coming season because he sees this as an opportunity to have a great racing career and continue in open wheel racing, with the doors to Formula One shut. And we also heard, that it pays very well to be a Formula E driver, so you can get a really great salary being in this series. And it's just nice to have options outside of Formula One to continue, racing in single seaters, whether it's Formula E, IndyCar, Super Formula. And I know sports car racing provides a plethora of opportunities, but I'm sure, some of these guys really love single seaters, as Mick Schumacher has said many, many times. I hear him say that in just about every single interview you ask him about it.
I was going to mention about the money, because it's all manufacturers. You do get paid fairly well, and it's become so specialist, hasn't it? And that's why people have stuck around in there, like Jev and Boemi, and of course Di Grassi have been in it since, and Friends perhaps have been in it on and off, in Friends' case, from the very beginning. It's become a bit of a specialist thing. On your IndyCar point, Kobe, when Formula E started, the DW12 was 2 years old. And here we are on the 4th generation. And we're still on the DW12 in its various guises. To Denver's point, looking at racing on the bigger tracks, all these supercars that come out, they always say it can go 300 miles an hour in one spot on Earth where we've got a runway long enough for it to do that. And that's kind of the Formula E mind. It can do this. It won't, but it can. Very annoying.
Yeah, it is. And there's Adam also saying, where's Val Kilmer, Ben Affleck, or George Clooney, who are the perfect drivers for the Gen 4 Formula E car, is what Adam
Christian
says.
Bale.
Yeah, there we go. Throw in some more
Adam
options
West.
as well.
For the older generation. Don't give them ideas. We'll have Batman versus Marvel versus Avengers versus everybody in a Formula E promotional video of some description. You can be sure if that ball starts rolling down the hill.
Oh yeah, and that reminds me, Matt. Earlier this year, didn't they try to bring more eyeballs on Formula E by putting influencers in Formula E car? I think we had Mr. Beast inside of Formula E car, and then we had some others.
Sergio Aguero. That was that silly test they ran at the Miami F1 track. But just have a race, which is what they're doing. Chris Hemsworth drove one in New York City. I was there, says Ben. Well, there you go. It's already begun on the superheroes mantra of Formula E.